Hello. There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Monday night as I adjust my camera. Woohoo! Everybody, welcome. I am Patrick. I am the owner of Perching Wolf Studios, the Facebook page or YouTube channel that you are currently watching. Thank you for joining me. And we are gonna do something called Monday Mini Medicine Card Readings. Woo-hoo. So I am gonna light some sage, light my candle, light some sage to smudge my cards before pulling them. And basically stalling for time to let other people realize that we are live and to join the video. So, if you have never been here before, what we do, I have this lovely deck of cards called the medicine cards. And each card has a different totem animal on it. And so I pull 3 cards. I'm still trying to get my sage to light here. It's not going very well. I pull 3 cards, and you choose a number between 1 and 3, or a couple of numbers, or all 3 numbers. And whatever card corresponds to the number you chose, that is your guidance for the night. Well, not just for the night, for the week. Sorry, I'm still a little groggy from the weekend. All right. Smudge. So. And I guess there's a lot of stuff going on energetically. A lot of new energies coming to the earth and that kind of thing. But all I know is that I have been so tired lately. And it always makes me feel better to find out that there's some astrological or solar kind of thing going on. And to find out that it's affecting other people as well as myself. But yeah, I have been so tired lately, and today I'm just kind of groggy, low energy. And I had 2 cups of chai today. 2 big cups of chai today. So we will see what happens. We'll see what guidance comes from our spirit animal guides. There you go. All right. And so, choose a number between 1 and 3, or 2 numbers, or all 3 numbers. And I will draw 3 cards. And I will tell you the messages one at a time, and whichever one corresponds to your number is, your guidance for the week. Ah, nice. Woohoo! good cards this week. Well, they're all good cards, right? So, all right. So, let's see. So choose your numbers. You got your numbers? All right. If number 1 was your card. Oops. I'm still getting used to this phone setup thingy. There we go. Ta-da. So, number 1. If 1 was your card, you got Raven. Raven is one of the heavy hitters, if there is such a thing, of the totem animal world. When Raven pops up, it's a reminder that anything is possible. Raven is connected to a whole number of creation myths. Raven is associated with creativity, really deep mystery, deep, the darkness, like the pregnant darkness of the womb of the cosmic mother, where all things exist, where all things are ready to be given birth. Raven is like the deepest, most sparkly, bibbity bobbity boo magic that you can imagine. It's kind of like that one phrase about with God all things are possible. Raven is kind of the messenger of that everything is possible. When Raven comes up, you are unlimited, that it is like crazy magic time. New worlds being birthed, new timelines being birthed. You know, the most well-known Raven story is probably the one about Raven stealing fire from the sun, because in the old times, the earth was dark, there was no light, and so someone had to go to the sun to steal fire so that the beings of the earth could see where they were going and stop tripping over each other. So Raven flew to the sun and stole fire. And at that point, Raven was like beautiful, pure white. But from carrying that bit of fire, that bit of flame from the sun, as he flew back to the earth, that flame blew back on him and charred his feathers pitch black. And so it was ironic that he was this pure white creature, beautiful, and he, by doing this thing and bringing light to the world, he lost his beauty. And I'm not saying that he's not beautiful, because ravens are, oh my God, glorious. But it's like by retrieving the light, the fire of the sun, he kind of gave up his own lightness. And there's something deeper there that I can't quite get at. It's like when the earth was in darkness, he was a creature of the light. He was pure white, but you couldn't see it because there was no light. And so it's kind of like that gift of the Magi kind of thing, that by bringing a gift that to help everyone see, he gave up his apparent beauty. So But then it's the gift of the darkness, the gift of the womb, the gift of possibilities, the gift of adventure, and Raven is that dark, shimmering, velvety background like the night sky. And like when we think of infinity, when we think of the universe, when we think of divine power, you know, most of us picture the night sky, the Milky Way, or the, you know, nebulae and all these different star clusters and etc., etc. And Raven basically embodies all of that. And so by going into that darkness of the cosmic womb, we get to choose which timeline, which reality, what life it is that we take from the darkness and pull into the light. So it's about manifesting your best life. It's about when you find yourself in darkness, unable to see the future, rather than falling into the old ways of the way we've been programmed since birth to expect the worst, like, and if things are like, if the future is dark and unknown and we can't control something, we have no idea what's going to happen, then we go into fear. And there's a better thing to do when you go into darkness, is to assume that everything is unfolding the way it needs to, that everything is unfolding for your highest good and benefit, that the universe is on your side. The universe isn't trying to trip you up. The universe isn't trying to put you in your place. The universe wants you to succeed. And so when you find yourself in that place of unknowing, you know, a place of darkness, that is the place, number one, it's the womb of the Cosmic Mother. And in the womb, you are the safest you ever will be in your life, right? So when you find yourself in darkness, number one, know that you are being held closer to Creator, closer to Goddess, to divinity than you ever have been before. And so you are safest in that darkness. And it's dark only because you can't see through. It's not dark because it's bad. It's not dark because there's evil or anything like that. Darkness is just great mystery. It's dark because we can't see into it. Because it is basically the fabric of space and time, of all possibilities. And so everything is there. Just like, it's just popped into my head. Like, I know it's different with light, where when all the colors of the rainbow, all the colors of light are together, it becomes white light. But it's the opposite when you're an artist, when you're painting. If you take all the colors of your paints and you put them together, you end up with black. And so if you think of that background, that dark background, that background of darkness, it's like all the colors, all the paints, all the, like, as if the background is a tapestry of paint. And all the colors are there because we can't pick one single one out. And so we go into the darkness, and with Raven as our guide, as the fire bringer, as the light bringer, we can see through the dark, find that thread of that life, of that light that we want. And we bring it into the known. We bring it out of the darkness, out of the womb, birthing it into reality, into the physical world. And then it's not dark anymore. We bring it into the light. But part of my point is that the darkness contains every possibility, every color, every possible twist of fate. And so just like with the law of attraction, what you think about, what you focus on increases. If you go into the dark and you continue to hold on to your fears and focus on what you don't want, guess what's going to come into the light is the stuff you don't want. And so when you go into the dark, and I am in no way suggesting that this is easy. This is like talking from a non-passionate, non-emotional place of this is how it works kind of thing. But we are human and we have emotions, and this is not an easy task, which is why the animal guides show up to help us. If you find yourself in darkness, if you are going through a dark time right now, if you can't see ahead of you what's going to happen, if you're filled with fear, call on Raven to guide you. Call on Raven to fly into the darkness with you, to find that light, to steal light from your personal sun and bring it into your life so that you can illuminate your life. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So, Raven is magical, is pure magic. And I can't say that I know a lot about the Tarot. I don't know a lot about the specifics of the Tarot, but in my mind, the little I do know, Raven, I think, would be kind of the hermit card. You know, the old man with the hood in the wilderness with the lantern. That's Raven. Stealing the sun, like he had that light with him, but being solitary. And that is one of the differences between ravens and crows. A lot of people think they're the same bird, but they are not. Raven tends to be more solitary. Raven tends to live in mated pairs off in the wilderness, like in the deep forest. Whereas crows live closer to urban areas. They live in communities. Where you find one crow, you're going to find dozens and dozens and dozens of them. Not that ravens don't have groups as well, but they do tend to be deeper in the woods, more hermity, more, seeking more solitude rather than being social like crows are. And so along with that, if you think about all the old stories and fairy tales, and even like Lord of the Rings and Gandalf, this wizard that is just steeped in mystery and has all this knowledge. You have no idea where he came from. And he just has this knowledge and this stuff that comes from nowhere. And that's the magic of Raven. It's like knowing things. How do I put it? A lot of this I'm kind of channeling it because it's just coming, and it's like stuff I had never thought of before. But it really is like when you think about the wizard or the old man in the woods or the old woman in the woods, the wise woman who knows things and knows secrets, but they're not really secret because they're things that anybody can know if they dedicate their lives to it or if they live closer to nature. Raven lives in the deep woods, further away from human influence. And so they are closer to the woods. They're closer to the natural world. They're closer to the fairy realm. They're closer to the spirits of the land. Not that crows aren't, but crows have this certain symbiotic relationship with humans. And so they're a little more, I don't know if civilized is the word, but Raven is more that old woman in the woods that you seek out on a pilgrimage for their wisdom, and it's scary because you don't know what they know or what they're going to do. There's nothing about them. That is the darkness. And it's facing that darkness within you, that unknown, and having the courage to open up that door, even despite the presence of fear, having that courage to look inside that darkness, to realize that there is nothing to fear. I was in this meditation class years and years and years and years ago, and our teacher took us on this guided meditation, and it was just kind of this roly-poly fun meditation, right? We all ended up on the back of a sea turtle, and the sea turtles were taking us out into the surf, and we're, surfing on the back of these turtles, blah, 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 and it was all nice and fun and just kind of a whimsical way of blowing off steam. And then when it was time, the teacher guided us to that, okay, your turtles are turning back towards shore, they're bringing you home. My turtle did not turn around. Instead of turning around towards shore and staying above the water where I could breathe, my turtle dove. And I mean, I knew I was safe because it was a meditation and everything, but at the same time, I was getting a little freaked out because the turtle's going deeper and deeper and deeper, and the water's getting darker and darker and darker. And I mean, ever since I was a young kid, there's been something about deep, dark water that's freaked me out. And I've had dreams about things coming out of that dark, watery thing, like scary monsters, scary animals, or whatever coming up to eat me. I think I was a sailor in a past life, and I think I at least once died falling overboard or something. But at the same time, the water represents emotions, and at that time, I won't say I was at the beginning of my spiritual path, but I wasn't as emotionally aware as I am now. I was still a little more new agey, and everything is the light, and even though, the dark's not bad, but we still want to go toward the light. I didn't understand that balance between the dark and light, how they're part of the same system, that they're both good. And so anyway, this turtle, I'm clinging to the back of this turtle as it's swimming deeper and deeper into darker and darker waters, and I'm starting to get really anxious and nervous. And then all of a sudden, I heard a voice in my head. It was the voice of Goddess, and she said, "What do you think is down here besides me?" And it was like, oh yeah. And all of a sudden I just calmed down, and it was like, okay, there is nothing in the darkness to be afraid of, because it's all Goddess, it's all divine, it's all part of deity. There's nothing to fear. And so that was like, this was years and years ago, so it's still stuck with me, the power of that meditation, as far as knowing that we live in a friendly universe. Everything happens for our benefit, and that ultimately there is nothing to fear, even in the darkness, because like I said, the darkness, okay, I'm going to go a little bit, I don't know what the term is, off deep something, but in our Western society, the dark is seen as evil, the light is seen as good. Hence, racism. Black people are seen as bad, unworthy, all of that kind of stuff, because of the darkness of their skin. Also, the dark is the realm of Grandmother Moon. The dark is the realm of witches. Oh my God. And feminine. And so, I mean, it used to be illegal, might still be in some places, for women to be out dancing in the moonlight, because women were seen as bad, because they were untamable, because they had this wildness, because the darkness. They knew things that men didn't know. And so in our society, it's still the light that is still, and it's changing, but that's still seen as the ideal, and anything that's dark and mysterious and, other than the light, other than whiteness, is seen as something that needs to be tamed, something that needs to be controlled. If it can't be controlled or tamed, it has to be destroyed. And it's really a reflection of people's, particularly white men's, failure to be able to look at their own shadows. But if we had the courage to do so, there is nothing in your shadow to fear. Your shadow is the source of your creative self, the source of your wild, primitive self, the source of your innocent self, wild and innocent. That feral part of you that can't be constrained by rules, and the more rules, we have this weird sense that the more rules we put on somebody, the better it's going to be. But the more rules you put onto someone, the more they're going to want to get out of it. That's that darkness coming up. And that darkness, because it's misperceived as evil, because it's breaking the rules, it's breaking the structures of white society, then it's just seen as evil and something else that has to be tamped down and destroyed. Don't let them take your shadow. Your shadow is your power. Your shadow is the source of everything in the seen world. And to people talk about shadow work as if they have to conquer their demons and stuff like that, when if you go, how do I put this? The deeper you go into self-realization, the deeper you go into looking at yourself, examining yourself, if you haven't hit creator, if you haven't hit the light yet, you haven't gone deep enough. God, I feel like I'm like talking in circles or something. I'm hoping this is coming true, but there is nothing wrong with you. You are nothing but divine light and love. And part of that divine light is darkness. And it's, if you want to think about it this way, the darkness is just light that is so bright that it blinds you. It is so bright you can't see into it. But the darkness is to be embraced. The darkness is the source of your flame. The darkness, as Raven stole fire from the sun to bring it to the earth, there is that fire within you, and it comes from your shadow. Your shadow is the creative, untamed, wild part of you. Without that, we would be we'd be robots, we'd be androids. We would not have emotions or life or anything. So embrace your shadow. If you need help illuminating your shadow or seeing through the darkness, or to put it into perspective, call on Raven. That's what ravens do. Raven looks for the shiny stuff that other people can't see. They look for the shiny stuff and what other people see as crap. So ask Raven to help you find the shiny parts. Because even in the darkest dark, there is still elements of light. Even Raven, if you think about raven wings, etc., they're glistening, they're sparkly. There's always light. And it's the realm of the moon, of Grandmother Moon. So embrace the moon. Ask Grandmother to help you illuminate the darkness. just a step ahead so that you can see your next step. You don't need to see the whole picture. You don't have to have everything concrete in front of you. Just ask for the next step and talk to Grandmother Moon. And go dance naked in the woods after dark. That's your assignment. That's your homework. If this is your card, go dance in the woods naked after dark. If you want to. But engender that wildness. It's like we are so tamed and homogenized in this world that we need wildness. And, you know, we tend to equate wildness with unruliness, with we all have this idea that if we were all left to our own devices, we would kill and rape and pillage. But that's not who we are. That's what happens when you try to constrain the shadow and it comes out in distorted ways, because it will be expressed one way or another. So allow yourself that wildness. Sit in the woods and just feel what it's like to connect with the earth, to connect with the trees, and feel that wildness of the fae, the wildness of the wildlife. It's that wildness that gives us life. So don't let anyone tame you. Okay? That's card number 1. Card number 2. Card number 2, if 2 was your number, you got squirrel. So squirrel is interesting, and squirrel has been coming up a lot lately in readings, I have noticed. We have such distorted ideas of animals, and the next one as well, but I'll get to that in a little bit. Squirrel, like we talk about squirreling away things for a rainy day, and we talk about having to prepare for the future, make sure there's enough money in our bank account, make sure we have all our ducks in a row in case in some rainy day and some disaster we're going to be taken care of. And that is the opposite of squirrel medicine. We think of squirrel burying nuts because he wants to make sure he's got enough for the winter. He's like storing up nuts, giving up the presence of this moment so that he can know that he's going to be safe in the future. And that is the furthest thing from his mind. Squirrel buries nuts because that's what squirrels do, because that is what brings joy to their tiny beating little heart. Oh my God, an acorn! Berry, 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 berry. Oh my God, another acorn. Look at the size of that one. Berry, 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 berry. They are in the moment. They aren't thinking about the hard winter that's coming. They're not thinking about, okay, how many did I plant? Okay, well, I better bury at least a dozen more or I'm going to starve. They're just burying nuts because that's what they enjoy doing. That is their passion. That is their love. And so by doing what they do and staying present in the moment, all of a sudden the winter comes along and they're like, gosh, I'm hungry. There was that great big acorn I buried over there. I'm going to go dig it up. Chomp, 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 chomp. So by taking care of themselves in the moment, by staying present, doing everything, following their intuition, what to do with all these little special gifts of the universe, these little happy surprises, time goes on and they find themselves taken care of. Because they stayed in the present in the past, they can remain in the present when it's wintertime, and they have resources that they hadn't planned on. Does that make sense? So if squirrel medicine is out of balance, if squirrel would come up reversed, that is a scarcity mind. That's the mind of, oh my God, I got to put away so much money out of every paycheck. or I'm going to starve when I'm 60 or whatever. And it's worrying about, oh, there's an acorn, I got to put it away for, I got to bury it so that it's safe, because I don't know if there's going to be another acorn. And then there's another acorn. Oh my God, I lucked out. Okay, I've got one more acorn. I better bury it to keep it safe. That is not squirrel medicine. That is human medicine, scarcity mindedness that worries about where the next acorn is going to come from, worries about where the next meal is going to come from. But the true medicine of squirrel really is about abundance, not about stockpiling abundance, but by being in the flow of abundance, of recognizing, being in gratitude. Like, oh my God, look at the size of that acorn. Oh my God, I'm so blessed. Thank you, universe. And then burying it, it's like, oh my God, I love it. And, it's more from that giddy, playful, you can't, squirrels play all the time. They're not serious. They're not trying to figure out how to solve all their problems. They're looking for nuts and seeds and berries and acorns and taking care of themselves. And there is more than enough acorns to go around for all the squirrels that are out there. There is an abundance. The universe continues, like trees, like the oak tree, dropping acorns. The oak tree grows way, way, way more acorns than can possibly fit in the forest if they all grew to be oak trees. The universe is abundant. The trees shed way more nuts, seeds, etc. than they can practically use. And so the squirrel, being in that flow, well, being in that flow appreciates every time there's another acorn. He doesn't take it for granted, but every time it's this like, oh my God, yay, another acorn. And so if you look at your life that way, like really, like I said earlier, I mentioned how, where consciousness goes, energy flows. So if you're focused on gratitude, if you're open-minded, looking for possibilities, you're going to find more opportunities. If you're narrow-focused, living in fear and scarcity, then despite the number of acorns out there, you're not going to find them because you're going to be so narrowly focused. You may stumble across one or two, which may only feed your attitude of scarcity and make you tighten up even more because there's not enough out there for everybody. But like a friend of mine likes to say, life is not pie. There's enough for everybody. Just because you get a slice of pie doesn't mean that someone else goes without. The world creates, nature creates way more than what is necessary because it's a mutual benefit for all the creatures. Scientists are starting to realize that nature is not survival of the fittest. It's not a competition. It's a cooperative venture that nature really works together for well-being. The world, just like we saw at the beginning of the pandemic when there was less traffic, less planes, less boats, the oceans started to heal, the forests started to heal, animals came back, because nature naturally moves toward wholeness. Nature naturally moves toward healing. We are nature. And so we naturally move toward wholeness. It reminds me of a quote from Seth. Excuse me, if any of you have ever read any of the Seth books, he said something about miracles are what happens when nature is allowed to proceed uninhibited, something like that. That miracles are the natural progression of things when you get out of the way. And so, know that you will always have enough. You will always have a roof over your head. You will always have food. It's living with open hands. It's living with an open heart. You know, you can't grasp water. If you try to grasp water, you don't get any. You end up with nothing in your hand. But if you open your hands under the flow of the faucet, you can fill your hands with water. That's the way we open our hearts to the world, to the universe. And the flow comes in. It's an unending flow. And so we have our heart here open. The flow comes in and overflows and feeds the others that are around us. But we carry that much love in our hands. We carry that affluence in our hearts. And that's how we move forward in gratitude, with an open heart, knowing that the universe always sees to our needs. You know, look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. The world is on your side. The world wants to provide for you. You naturally move toward wholeness and healing. So let go of those restrictive beliefs that the world is hard, that it's a dog-eat-dog world, that it's a competition, and know that the universe provides everything you need. It's just a matter of opening yourself to it, trusting the universe. You know, it's like affirmations where you thank the universe for things before you even receive them, because you know that they are on their way. Ask and you shall receive. Law of attraction. And so, like squirrel is the richest animal in the world. Not because they have hordes and hordes of acorns stored away, but because they're constantly finding new ones. They're in the flow. And so they are light. They're not held down by that abundance. They're not having to guard their abundance, because just like the rest of nature giving off more than it needs, squirrel buries more nuts and seeds than he needs. And thus, squirrels have planted entire forests. Because of their forgetfulness and their jolly burying all the nuts they find, there are trees that grow, there are forests that grow because of squirrel. And thus, squirrel, by being joyful and playful and bearing these seeds, is planting forests, which creates more nuts and seeds, right? So know that everything you do is a seed of either love or fear. And you have so many more resources than you believe you do, because your entire life you have been sowing seeds. And it's time to look back and use those seeds that now have grown fully into trees and bushes, etc., and take from the resources there that you have unconsciously built up around you, if that makes sense. Just know that if that is your card, that all things come to you in time, that whatever you need will come to you in the right timing, and that you can trust the universe to provide. It sounds kind of airy-fairy, but it's true. I live my life that way. And I can look back and see how every little thing I have ever needed has fallen into place because I trusted that I live a charmed life. Everything, the universe takes care of me. Everything works out in my world. It's that simple. So know that you are taken care of. Know that you are loved and you are provided for. And play. Life is not meant to be shoulder to the wheel, whatever. Life was meant to be played. We're here to learn. We're here to play. So don't take life too seriously. It's time to get squirrely. Okay? All right, number 3. If 3 was your card, we got our old friend Salmon. Like I mentioned with squirrel, salmon is a very misunderstood animal. The main medicine of salmon is going home. If that is your card, you are guaranteed to get to where you are going. You are guaranteed to get home. I actually had an experience with a salmon. I went down to the river to do pipe ceremony, like a lot of you have heard me talk about before. And in the fall, the river I go to is a main thoroughfare for the salmon. And there's always some on the bank that haven't made it. And so I went down to do pipe ceremony one time, and there was a dead salmon on the beach. And I got so sad. And I was thinking about, like, dang, it was like salmon medicine is about returning home. And so I got out my tobacco and I sprinkled the salmon with tobacco, and I was like, I am so sorry you didn't get home. And I heard clearly in my head the voice of the salmon going, we all get home. It was like, oh yeah. So we all get home. You are heading home. You are guaranteed to get there one way or another, and I'm not saying you're going to die to get there. But if you think about salmon as returning to your origins, returning to that, they return to where they spawned. They return to where they were born. So this is like a return to your origins, to your pureness, to your innocence, to your divinity, right? And like I said with squirrel about, you naturally move toward healing and wholeness. Salmon naturally moves toward healing and wholeness. Salmon naturally moves toward home. And when you're guaranteed to get there, then the entire way, no matter which way the river bends or wends or winds, it's all an adventure, because whatever stands in front of you, you are guaranteed to get through. Then every little bend becomes, oh my God, what's around the next bend? I can't wait to see what I can deal with next, rather than, oh my God, what's around the next bend? I don't know if I'm going to get home. You're going to get home. This is a sign. You're going to get there. The other thing, the part of salmon that is so misunderstood is that salmon doesn't spend the entire route fighting the current. We have this idea, this Puritan idea, that it's all about blood, sweat, and tears, that salmon is constantly fighting the current. He's like going against the natural flow of nature to prove how superior he is. And it's like, that is not at all what Salmon is doing. Salmon rides the eddies, rather than through the middle of the river, the deeper part of the river, where it's the main current. Salmon tends to go off to the sides, where either the current isn't as strong, or like along the edges of the river, you get eddies, you get little kind of whirlpools. And there are natural waterways that go the opposite direction of the main current. Those are the currents that salmon follows. So what this means for you is that you see pathways that others don't. And so what you do may seem backwards, literally, to other people. What you do, your path, may seem to go contrary to what everyone else is doing. But it's like that one, there's this meme that I love, but again, I am so bad at repeating word for word quotes of different things, but it's like those who couldn't hear the music thought that the ones who were dancing were crazy. You can see pathways that others don't. Don't let them talk you out of it. Trust your heart. Trust your path. Know that it doesn't matter what anyone else can see, what anyone else thinks, that you have a destiny, you have a path ahead of you, and you can see it clearly where others can't. Don't let them dissuade you. Don't let them hinder your progress home. Don't let them talk you out of your own strength, out of your own magic, your own medicine. And know also that, when salmon leap up the waterways, leap up the falls, etc., they're not doing that with their own strength. We think that they're just jumping up, like they're gaining, they're like garnering all their strength and then jumping. That's not what they're doing. They're utilizing the whirlpools at the bottom of the waterfalls to help them jump up, to springboard them up the falls. They're not doing it of their own strength and energy. They use the whirlpool to slingshot up the falls. So when you follow your natural course, when you follow your pathway, whether anyone else can see it or not, you're not fighting the current all on your own. It is an arduous trip. It takes a lot out of them. A lot of them don't make it, but the point is, when you stay steady on your path, following your own North Star, Spirit carries you. Spirit springboards you over the obstacles. You don't have to get there on your own. You are carried and lifted by Spirit to get over those obstacles. So know that whatever you're facing right now is not beyond you. That it might take some creativity. You might have to do some soul searching. Definitely thinking outside the box, looking at things differently, kind of that Zen mind, beginner's mind, where you see things from your own perspective, from a beginner's perspective, without the influence of all the things you've been taught your entire life. In order to see that opening, there is a pathway through it. or there is a springboard for you to use that wants to help cast you up and over. All it takes is opening your eyes to the possibilities. Think outside the box. Don't let society or expectations filter your eyesight. Okay? So that is the 3 cards for this week. I hope that made sense to you. I hope that's helpful. I always get done and I try to go back over what I said. Like, God, I hope that made sense to people. I hope that was helpful. But that is what we have for this week. I thank you for joining me again. Thank you so much for being with me. This is one of the highlights of my week, and I really appreciate everyone that tunes in and watches me. Feel free to share this video. Feel free to invite people next week, every Monday night at 7:30 Pacific time. And if you enjoyed this, I encourage you to, if you feel called to get your own personal reading, come find me. You can find me on my website at perchingwolfstudios.net, or through my Facebook page. And when you get a personal reading, this is kind of more like the Sunday newspaper generalized horoscope kind of thing. But when you get a personal reading, you get 5 cards or more, and they're aimed all at you. And then you get more of a personalized message from the animals. And as a shaman, the cards are just a leaping off point, and I connect with the spirit of the animals and find out if there's any personal messages for the person. And with the bigger spread, it's awesome to see, like, they start to tell stories, and the different cards kind of play off of each other, kind of balance each other. I love doing it. I love reading for people. So if that sounds good to you, please check that out. Approach me. Check out my website again to see what other shamanic services I offer, healings and different things, classes. I'm going to have a class coming up. I thought it was going to be the 1st or 2nd week of May, but because the classroom space isn't ready yet, and they've got some work they need to do on it, it's been pushed back toward the beginning of June. So anyone that was kind of waiting for an update on the class, I'm going to do a Introduction to Shamanic Journey class coming up, and teaching people kind of the background shamanism, what it is, what it's not, and actually then taking people on a shamanic journey to meet their power animal spirit guide. And once you have that, it's like you're off and running. There is nothing else you need to follow a shamanic path. So it was a turning point in my life, and I've seen it be a turning point in other people's life. I feel like I'm like the luckiest guy with the best job, because I get to see these people evolve, and I get to see the excitement and the adventure and the interactions of people with their spirit guides, and it's just, oh my God, I love it. So if you feel called to the shamanic path, follow my Facebook page, check out my website. I will post it there as soon as I get word that we can do the class. I'm thinking I might do a Zoom class as well, because not everybody is local, and I'm not sure what they're going to do about limiting people in that space. So stay tuned. And if you're interested, Wednesday nights I do my other Facebook Live video, and I do a sacred pipe ceremony where I set sacred space for people to come and let the world off their shoulders for an hour, to breathe, to connect with spirit, and send up our prayers and intentions directly to Creator. It's a beautiful sacred ceremony that I just love. So if you haven't checked that out, come and join us there. You are more than welcome. And otherwise, I will see you here next week, next Monday. Bring your friends. And again, thank you so much for joining me, especially those of you that join me week after week after week. And if you're new, welcome. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you come back next week. So until I see you again, know that I love you, that I see you, and that I honor you. So have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I will see you soon. All right. Go shining, everybody. Bye.